In progress.
This meeting is being recorded.
Not sponsored by Diet Coke.
Not sponsored by Food Line Water either.
Food Line Water.
Food Line, baby, you know what it is. Let's go.
What's going on? Welcome to the Golden Octagon MMA Podcast. I am Matt Anderson. On the other side of your screen is Dorian Rose. Dorian, I have a question to take away from your regular answer that you're going to have. How has it felt after this long time of not having a belt for so long, being able to have it in your possession for a full week this time? How has it been gloating around your house? I know you've just been having that shit around your house all week. Fucking Amber's been like, will you take that off?
Yeah, I actually showered with it on the other day too. So yeah, I've pretty much like not gone anywhere without it by my side pretty much. But no, it's been great. You know, just holding the throne down, and we're looking to come defend the title this weekend.
All right, man. It's been a while since I haven't had it, dude. It's just like he's had it this whole week, and we didn't even have fights last weekend. But we got fights this weekend. In my opinion, most anticipated fight card of the year, hands down over any pay-per-view, any fucking fight night card. I cannot wait for this card. I don't know if you can tell the excitement in my voice, dude, but I am so ready to get into this. But before we do, we have to talk about some fight news and some fight announcements, all that good shit. If you guys wouldn't mind, 10-7 that like button for us. Subscribe if you are not. And comments are always appreciated down below. So clearly I'm fucking joking about this fucking card, dude. This is a really rough card. And me and you are, I would say we're hardcore fans, dude. We watch every single fight, fucking prelims and on, or at least I do. You watch the majority of them, but even this card, dude, I'm like, what is this, dude? This is a full fight card. Like Alexa Grasso and fucking Viviane Araujo, truly my two favorite fighters at fucking women's 125. So I know them, but I can fully understand if most UFC fans are like, who the fuck is Viviane Araujo? I understand why a lot of people don't know who she is, but we'll get into the fight card itself. But let's get into the news topic. Today, you just now said it right before we fucking started the show. You're like, oh, I got a news topic. So I'm gonna let you start off the show, man.
One of the news I had seen, just funny because considering where both the guys are at in their career, but Chael Sonnen is coming out of retirement to get his rematch against Tito Ortiz in February of 2023. What are your initial thoughts on Chael Sonnen, the bad guy, undefeated, risking his record to come out of retirement to take on Tito Ortiz for the rematch?
I believe back when I actually used to watch his fucking channel, because at a certain point I'm like, okay, I'm just like, I'll subscribe to the channels on YouTube, but I'm not watching your videos anymore. You just talk for like 15 minutes in a circle about fucking nothing. Like, I'm glad we got that accomplished. Like, I'll occasionally get his like prediction, and then I'll know, okay, pick the opposite way, because Uncle Chael most of the time what is it? Igor Projaska or whatever the fuck he called Yuri for the longest
time. Pro ass kick.
Igor Pro ass kick, dude. Like after that, you know, like I'm done listening to Chael. But back when I did listen to him, I did hear him say, if there was one fight that he would come out of retirement for, it was going to be Tito Ortiz. So the fight being announced itself, I guess maybe surprising a little bit, just because it's like, Chael actually came back. But for who he's fucking fighting for. I guess it's not really too surprising. I got to be honest, I don't care too much. Two old guys fighting that don't need to be fighting. We saw fucking Tito get knocked unconscious by Anderson Silva in a boxing match, dude. So I just I don't see it going too good for Tito, but to be fair, neither one of these dudes have ever been fucking strikers. So we can look forward to a 3-round or a 5-round main event of a wrestling match, dude. I mean, do you have anything else to say other than that's what it's going to be?
I think honestly, I think you pretty much summed it up. I think the same thing about his YouTube channel. I used to be a big fan of it, but it was like he would just ramble around for 15 minutes, and whatever the headline for the video was had nothing to do with what he was talking about within the video. So it's like you just jump in and you have no idea what you're getting yourself into, and all of a sudden he's on like a 20-minute tirade about NCAA wrestling, and I'm like, dude, I don't even know how we got here. But I think overall, I am a fan of Chael, though. I do think he's a great analyst, and I've liked him as a fighter as well. He had a little bit of bad luck in his last few fights in Bellator. I mean, he was taking on some killers. He was fighting. He fought Fedor at heavyweight when he's really a middleweight. So he was fighting a lot of tough guys. But I would like to see him get the Tito fight back, just because. Chael's a likable guy, good analyst, and Tito kind of says some things about Chael's dad. Chael's dad has passed away, for those who don't know, and it kind of like some nasty comments that Tito was making to kind of sell the fight a little bit. And I get trying to sell the fight to a certain extent, but I think when you bring dead relatives into it, that does kind of poke a little sensitive spot. And I would like to see Chael come back and maybe get him, catch him with a clean shot.
Fair enough, dude. Speaking of being clean, what do you think like the drug testing is for this fight?
There isn't.
Fair enough, dude.
There isn't. There isn't.
Fair enough. Yeah, let's go, Uncle Chael. Let's see if he can let's see if he can get it done over the Huntington Beach bad boy. Yeah.
I was yeah, that's right.
What it was,
and if there's a chance that there's gonna be no drug testing, yeah, I'm pounding the money line on Chael.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. So I guess we'll move on to our regular news topics of the week. Fight announcements, dude. So up first, I'm not sure if we announced this last week, but Josh Parisian taking on Chase Sherman, dude. So he will get his dude. How many times has fucking Chase Sherman been in and out of the UFC now? It's been quite a few, yeah.
I mean, multiple times. Like, honestly, I can't even keep up with it.
Yeah, fair enough. So up next, Ronnie Lawrence versus Cameron Simon, added to UFC 282. We got Rafa Garcia. I said this last week, versus Mahashete. We also did Wonder Boy versus Steve. Yeah, I did these last week. What the fuck? Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Saeed Yakub Kakramanov, added to UFC Vegas 66, and that's December 17th. So
that's a good fight.
Yeah, that really is a good fight.
Yeah, Saeed Nurmagomedov is on his way up. So
yeah, and then Saeed Yakub, also a rather good fighter as well. Me and you talked about this a little bit off the podcast when it got announced. I can hear your baby in the background.
Yeah, all the way upstairs, dude.
Just to be clear, no one is dying here. Dorian does still have a fairly new boy still.
Yeah, she is absolutely nuts up there screaming like it's World War III or something, dude. It's crazy.
But this got announced. Mauricio Shogun, who is going to take on Ihor Poteria January 21st in Brazil, dude. This is going to be Shogun's, I guess, retirement fight. You said that you hate this fight. Let me know why you hate this fight, man.
The biggest reason why I do is really, and I understand, the UFC as a business, they're notorious for taking some of the legends and feeding them to the young up and comers. So I'm well aware of how the business model works. My biggest thing is that for Shogun, it's going to be likely. It's rumored to be his retirement fight. He hasn't really came out and fully said it just yet, but it's rumored to be his retirement fight. You're bringing him back to Brazil, which is absolutely awesome. You know, kind of bringing it in one last time in front of his home crowd, in front of his home people. But I think for you to serve him up on a platter for what could potentially be a beheading of Shogun Rua, because I mean Shogun at this point, I mean we've seen him in the last fight against OSP. I mean he's completely just gunshot at this point, like, and he's shop worn. You know, his chin's going. Just his movements is not there like he used to be. And that was one of his biggest things, that he had a lot of good footwork, boxing, and one of the things that he was known for was an incredible chin. Has neither of that now. His face is so like puffy from all the scar tissue. Like I know people notoriously talk about Nate and Nick Diaz having the scar tissue. Dude, look at Shogun's face. Like his face and his eyes, he looks Asian now because he's got so much freaking scar tissue up in his eyes. And I just think the UFC is just dropping the ball on sending him in front of his home crowd to potentially get his ass wiped and sent home on a bad L. I mean, I just don't know why the UFC would do that in Brazil like that.
Yeah. I definitely see where you're coming from as far as like the man, don't do that to him like in his hometown, in his like retirement fight. But in reality, dude, like the fight itself, that's how it works. Maybe not the location and all that. I understand it. It's a fucking rough fight. But you also kind of mentioned like another name there, OSP, also got a fight announced against Alexander Gustafsson, however you want to say it, the Mauler. You said that you don't like this fight either because you think that they should fight older guys. I was all on this fight. I was like, hell yeah, this is a good fight. Maybe should have happened like 7 to 10 years ago, but I'm still fucking down for it because it's a good matchup in my opinion. Why do you also not like this fight?
Well, I think really at this point, I think it's more of the Alexander Gustafsson position. I mean, I do think OSP, he's been more up and down, but he's been very gun shy as of late. More than he's always been like a counter fighter, so he's always kind of taking his time and exploded at moments. Here lately, you just don't see any explosion from him. He's just been more kind of relaxed and on his back foot a lot more. And I think for Alexander Gustafsson, I mean, he's to the point now to where he almost can't even take a shot now. And this is quite like a literal stat. He has not won a fight since 2017. So I mean, I know he's taking some time off in between as well, and even after the Anthony Smith fight, he walked away, and then for some reason comes back, and then he ends up getting he ends up getting submitted for the first time by Verdum. But even in before that, when he had the John Jones fight, he had never been really taken down before when he was a light heavyweight, and John took him down with ease and pounded him. And Verdum took him down with ease and submitted him. And Nikita Krylov, when he fought him, I mean, it looked like he barely even punched Gus. You know, Gus had his leg when after Nikita Krylov went to throw a kick, and he didn't even have the full power in the punch and was able to drop Gustafsson. So I think it's more of on Alexander Gustafsson's side. I just don't want to see him really fight anymore at this point. I could do with not seeing OSP either, but I think it's more of I just don't want to see Gustafsson do this anymore.
Let me early prediction on the fight, even if it happens, because you know both fighters are really old at this point. OSP has been fucking known to pull out, and so is Gus now here in the fucking past few years. So early prediction on that fight, who do you think takes that one if it does come to fruition?
I mean, it's super hard to even try to gauge it. I mean, I would, if you look at it just from X's and O's, you know, you would say that Alexander Gustafsson has the tools to be able to get it done. But with him not being able to take a shot, I mean, what if OSP just lands like one counter hook on him? Because OSP is capable of being explosive. You know, he has had a knockout within the last couple of years. You know, he knocked out Alonzo Menifield in 2020. And that's a tough dude as well. So I think I mean if OSP hits him with one of them shots, I could definitely see him putting him out, especially with the way Gustafson's been taking damage here lately. He just hadn't been able to.
Yeah. An interesting one, maybe for the hardcores, maybe for the old heads. That's just one that I'm interested to see what happens. I know you don't really fucking care that that terrible much because you're like, I don't want to see them fight. But moving on down, dude, we got some more kind of vets, dude. We got RDA taking on Brian Bam Bam Barberina. Immediate thoughts on this fight?
That's a super fun fight. You know me, I'm Brian Bam Bam Barberina could be fighting a broomstick, and I'm going to be there to watch the fight because you're going to have goosebumps at the end of the fight because that dude goes out there and he just puts it all on the line. And I think for RDA, I think at this point, I think he just wants to kind of take those veteran fights. You know, ones that are not going to be, I don't want to say a step down in competition, but he kind of wants to fight a little bit at the maybe where his fight skills are at, maybe based on the age group and where he's at. Because, you know, Brian Barberina is about 34, 35 now, kind of an action fighter. So it kind of sets up for RDA. I think RDA he's still got some left in him. You seen in the physique fight, he looked really good and carried a lot of skills late in that fight. So I think that's going to be just a fan favorite fight as normal for Bam Bam.
So I guess I know you said like he wants to have like fucking fan friendly fights, but where's it going to be at? Because he was at 155 for a while, was a champion, lost, went up to 170, got pretty close to being like the champion there, and then kind of like hit his like fucking level, went back down to 155 like fucking last fight, now going back up to 170, dude. Like, I guess like my question is like, is he at that point now where it's like, man, he might be done, like he just maybe has a few left in him, and it just is what it is. Where do you think he should fucking fight at? Should he like fucking go back down to 155, or should he actually fucking stay up at 170?
Honestly, I think it really is just dependent on the matchup. I think really the biggest thing for him is, you know, fighting a guy like Fiziev. Fiziev's like, you know, he's kind of on his way up to the title, one of the young rising prospects in the 155 division. I really think it's just going to be matchup dependent for RDA because even after his last fight against Fiziev, he went to call out a couple of the older vets. You know, he called out Tony Ferguson, called out Clay Guida. It was another older fighter. I think it was Jim Miller as well. Jim Miller was the other one that he had ended up calling out within the same tweet and just said, you know, I want to fight guys like that now. So I think it depends. If he fights Jim Miller, I can see them fighting at 155. RDA could make the weight cut. I just think at this point in his career, he just doesn't need to really be facing the up and comers. If you have enough veterans on your squad, for if you're the UFC 170 or 155, you know, I think you can make some really fun matchups, and I think RDA is really down to do both. As far as a division, I just don't think he wants to fight the young up and comers anymore.
All right. So speaking of fighting up and comers, and a fight that you also like, because we talked about this like a little bit last night as well. You're more high on Frankie versus Chris Gutierrez than I think I am. I think I'm a low-key fan of like fucking Chris Gutierrez. He's got nasty leg kicks. He's got good pressure nonstop. And I guess Frankie could take him down, dude, but the more I watch Frankie like at 135, it's like, man, he might even be undersized for 135 as well. Maybe he could go down to 125. I don't fucking know, dude. You're high on Frankie in this fight versus Chris Gutierrez. Let me know why, man.
Really, I just think it's just more of just Frankie. I think where Chris Gutierrez is at. I mean, he's a decent fighter, but I do think that there's a little bit of holes in his game. Just like you said, you know, he can be taken down from time to time. I see Frankie. You know, he's a great wrestler. I think the matchup is just a little bit more in his favor with the Chris Gutierrez fight, as opposed to we were kind of comparing it to Shogun Hua and Eor Pateria. And the reason why I don't like that fight is because that dude's a savage, and he's gonna come in there and take you out. I don't think Frankie's problem has really been his chin, because even in the Cheeto fight, like he showed a lot of toughness in that fight. Cheeto just hit him with one of them kill shots, dude. So I don't think it's really been a chin issue so much for Frankie. I just think he just looks older. Whereas Shogun, he's got more of a chin issue. So I could see Frankie just kind of taking the path of least resistance and being able to potentially get a win on the way out. At least it's a more favorable matchup for Frankie.
Yeah. Hopefully that is Frankie Edgar's retirement match in MSG. I'd enjoy that. Right? Yeah. Like, I don't want to, bro, just
walking out the kick in the door by Biggie Smalls too, man, right in New York. Dude, I'd get cold chills as soon as he comes out. He's gonna come sprinting out the tunnel. Yeah, I'd be super pumped to see him fight in New York.
I hope that's his last one though. Yeah, like hang it up after that, because it's like, bro,
he said that he wants it to be his final one.
Yeah. I don't want to see him get finished anymore. It's like, man, it's just rough to see. All right, moving on. Alan Nascimento going to be taking on Carlos Hernandez, January 14th. Gotta be honest, it sounds familiar. Not sure who either one of those are. I guess this was announced a little bit earlier last week. Jeff Hands of Steel Neal going to be taking on the Nomad Shavkat Rakhmonov. Immediate thoughts on that fight, dude?
Super tough fight for Jeff Neal, man. I mean, I know it seems like the UFC's been kind of like almost bullying him into taking the fight against Shavkat when Jeff Neal has been trying to call out Gilbert Burns and guys like that. But I do think, Shavkat, that dude's such a savage, and Jeff Neal has definitely got an uphill battle, dude, because Shavkat is an absolute problem.
You know what I've kind of noticed, dude, in the few fights that I have seen from fucking Shavkat, from like what we have seen, doesn't have the best head movement, man. Like,
and I was
he can get hit. He can get hit, and it's like, bro, Jeff Neal cracks. Like, I'm not saying he's going to beat him. Like, obviously, fucking Shavkat should be at least 3-1 favorite over fucking Jeff Neal still. But, dude, throwing a 5 on fucking Jeff Neal by like fucking KO, dude, I fucking might take that flyer.
Well, and I'll tell you too, Jeff Neal does have a win over Bilal Muhammad, and Bilal Muhammad, as we know, is a good wrestler in the division. Now this win was back, I believe it was 2018, so Bilal Muhammad was at a much different point in his career. I really think that loss to Jeff Neal helped Bilal Muhammad evolve and kind of the fighter into what he is now. Kind of, I don't want to say a boring fighter, which he basically is, but just more of a wrestling heavy approach. I think he kind of learned from Jeff Neal, but no, and Jeff Neal can crack too, super strong guy. So I do think the matchup is very interesting, and Jeff Neal's definitely got a shot, dude. He's super tough, so I'll never completely count him out, but he's just got a tough matchup.
Yeah. Up next, Shamil Abdurakhimov pulls out of the fight against Jelton Almeida. Once again, dude, what is that, like 3 or 4 times now? Like, he does not want to fight Jelton Almeida. So Maxim Grishin will step in on November 5th to fight Jelton Almeida at a 220 catch weight. Rip Maxim Grishin, I guess.
Wait, Maxine Grisham is taking the fight against?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Didn't he just, or was he supposed to fight and he didn't fight? Or did he just fight, didn't he?
He was going to fight Felipe Lins, I think. And then that fight got caught off. Yeah.
So are they fighting it? You said heavyweight?
220 catch weight.
Okay. Yeah, that's appreciate Grisham stepping in, but Jelson, that is like heavyweight Habib, or heavyweight light heavyweight Habib,
or like, whichever one he wants to do.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, he ragdolls both weight classes, so it's crazy.
All right, we got an odd one here, man. I don't know how I like this fucking matchup. I don't know which way this goes because I'm a Paul Craig fan, but he's going to be taking on Johnny Walker, UFC 283, January 1st. Immediate thoughts on that, man?
Honestly, I think really good matchup for Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
I think Paul Craig,
There's like
super
the
dangerous
knockout
with his
risk isn't
submissions.
there for him. That's what
Ru-
you have to beat Johnny
Exactly.
Walker.
Yeah, yeah, he does. He doesn't have explosive hands. And I think Johnny Walker, after that win against Kutalaba in his last fight, that's one of that's a confidence builder, especially coming off of that embarrassing Jamal Hill loss. And I think for Paul Craig, he's kind of the same old fighter as far as we know what he's there to do. He's there to get a submission. He's there to get it to the ground. He's got some decent kicks, but he doesn't really throw in that much. So I think unless he kind of surprises us with some striking, I think Johnny Walker, it's set up for him to should be able to ride off with the dub.
So odd, man. So odd because Paul Craig will fucking sub like Jamal Hill in like 10 seconds and then go on to fucking lose to Johnny Walker. He'll fucking sub fucking Ankalaev like last fucking second, dude, and then can't do shit to Volkan Oezdemir. The guy, it makes no fucking sense. I love the Paul Craig, the Bear Jew Paul Craig. That's what I was going for there. So
The Paul Craig.
the Paul Craig, but we'll fucking move on to what's going to happen this weekend. So we'll talk about it like a little bit right now because I don't know too much about this fight. Melsik Bagdasaryan was going to fight Joe Anderson Brito this weekend, but he is no longer able to fight. Lucas Alexander is going to step in for the fight. I don't know shit about Lucas Alexander. I got to be honest, but I can only imagine Joe Anderson Brito. He's got a lot of fucking power. We've seen what happens when a newcomer is fucking stepping up late notice to a 145 ranked fighter, dude. It's not good. I suspect this might look a little bit like the Don Shanis versus Sadiq Yusuf from a few fucking weeks ago. He just might get just cleaned out rather easily, or something might crazy happen and we might get surprised. But any thoughts on that fight?
Truthfully, I'm not super familiar, but did you say this happening this weekend?
Yeah, Joe Anderson Brito
Oh wow.
versus Lucas Almeida or fucking Lucas Alexander.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. No, I wasn't even I wasn't even aware of that change happening and that Brito was staying on the
yeah.
card. I get making sure he's getting paid and he definitely doesn't want to fall off and ruin what's going to be the fight card of the year.
Moving on. We got Bam Bam Tuivasa taking on Sergey Pavlovich, dude. So at this point, they're just matching. They're just treating Bam Bam Tuivasa as you're also Derek Lewis. So you guys are going to both fight all the same guys. I mean, but to be fair, heavyweight ain't that deep to begin with. So I mean, they're all going to fight eventually. But it's like it just like back to back the same fucking people. It just seems kind of odd. So Sergey Pavlovich taking on Bam Bam Tuivasa, dude. Any thoughts on that fight?
Um, man, I mean, for a tie, fresh out the frying
Hold
pan
on.
into the
Let
fryer,
me let
dude.
you know when this is too. December
It's in
3rd in
December, right?
Orlando. Yeah. The Kevin
Yeah,
Holland
yeah,
card.
and weird that you put Ty. Yeah, you put him on. He's normally like a pay-per-view fighter, so I'm surprised that they just put him on a random fight night in Orlando, out of all places. Like, I mean,
He's not even
the
the main
UFC
event.
is.
That's the fucking Kevin Holland versus like the Wonder Boy card.
Well, he might not have wanted to have been the main event, but I figured if they're going back to Australia in February, just hold them out 2 more months. So don't be surprised if you might see a pullout from either of the fighters, and then see Ty make a turnaround on that Australia card in February.
Indeed, indeed. So moving on to the next one. We got Phil Rowe taking on one of Dorian's favorites. He loves to talk about him, Nico Price. That is December 3rd, also in Orlando. Thoughts on that fight?
Wait, who is the Nico is fighting? I'm sorry.
Phil Rowe.
Hey, that's a good fight.
Mhm.
Man, we hadn't seen Nico Price in a while. I know he's had some injuries and stuff, but yeah, we hadn't seen
That's
him
what
in a while.
happens when you
So
get fucking backflip head kicked while you're on the ground.
Yeah,
the
I
show.
got backflip stomped. Like backflip stomped, dude. Like that. I'm like, dude, what are we doing? Like how are we even letting him do this?
Legal.
But
Same.
yeah, I'm like, what? I'm like,
Fucking
how?
Nico was like,
Like he looked like he jumped
hey.
from the. He looked like he jumped from a damn diving board and was like, like flipped and fucking landed on. I'm like, how are we doing this here? But nah, Nico, that's my guy. That dude is all action all the time. And yeah, I'll definitely be excited to watch him fight. And Phil Rowe comes and brings the fight too. He's not the most talented fighter, but he's definitely explosive, got good hands. So, that's gonna be a firework matchup.
And probably one of probably the last one, dude, that we have is Jan Blachowicz taking on Magomed Ankalaev, UFC 282, December 10th. Immediate thoughts on that?
That was kind of the matchup that we had really anticipated after Jan had the performance against Rakic, and then Ankalaev coming off of his most recent win. We weren't really expecting against Anthony Smith. It was kind of anticlimactic the way it ended. So both fights of their last fights have ended anticlimactically. So to decide the next title challenger after the rematch between Yuri and Glover, it only makes sense.
All right, so let me get your opinion, like a little bit on this upcoming, like it's how do I set this up? Everyone's in Abu Dhabi at this point for the fights, not this weekend, but next weekend, dude. There's been a little discussion now at who's going to be the backup for 155. Is Alexander fucking Volkanovski, why is he there if he's not the backup? But Benny D saying that like UFC told him he was the backup. What do you see happening there if some crazy shit happens? Because you have to remember right now the lightweight title is technically vacant. So both fighters could fall out of the main event, and our fucking championship fight could literally be Benny D versus Alexander Volkanovski for the lightweight championship of the world. How crazy would that be? Everyone's like, what the fuck?
Man, I think for Islam right now, I think you're gonna have to chop his head off to make sure that he's not going to be able to make it to the fight. I think with the dude, there's gonna be a lot of pressure on him, especially in Abu Dhabi. And Habib's been talking a lot of game for him, leading up to this fight. So I think you're going to have to literally kill Islam for him to not make the fight. And we've seen Charles Oliveira already make it there. I think really the biggest concern would be the making of weight. But if you're a conspiracy theorist, you can look into that last little weight miss with Charles Oliveira. Kind of put your tinfoil hat on and see that there might have been some shady stuff going on there. But I do think that I think everything stays together. But for who I think the backup should be, maybe Benny D was just kind of told to the side. They pulled him to the side and said, "Hey, you're going to be the backup." But I do think that Volkanovski, he's made a big push for this, and he was recently cleared with his hand. What was it, about like a month or so ago? I think he got cleared after he busted up his hand against Max in that last fight. So after he got cleared up, I think the UFC pretty much was fully on board. And I think if Charles or Islam is going to miss out. I do think that there, as a backup plan, to have the 145 champ move up, that's a pretty good backup plan to have just in case that match falls through. So who I would prefer or who I think is going to be the backup fighter, I would definitely think Volkanovski makes more sense. And I think honestly creates for a much more exciting matchup.
All right. And let me just throw this one at you real quick. We also have another title fight on that card. We have TJ Dillashaw versus Aljamain Sterling. For example, say TJ can't make weight. He's fucking overweight. Do they leave that fight together, or do they pull from O'Malley versus Jan for that fight to happen?
So I think
or do they just scrap that fight completely? Like it's off.
There's a couple of different ways I think it could go. Now, if Aljo was to fall out, I think the obvious matchup, and I think honestly what the UFC wanted as a matchup was Jan against TJ. Just because both of their striking, I do think that's a little bit more of a fan friendly matchup. I think if TJ is to miss by any chance, there's no way that you could run Jan and Sterling back right after they had just fought as recently as they have one another. So I think that'll be kind of tough to try to make them do. But Sean, I don't see them giving him a title shot.
Yeah, I don't see them.
I don't see them giving him a title shot.
I would much rather. I would see them 100% more leaving the Jan O'Malley together and scrapping that whole title fight for a whole different day, because they already got a whole other title fight on there. So if anything happens, I think they're going to try to save that O'Malley Jan more than anything.
Yeah, I think the same thing, because like I said, you can't put Jan against Sterling, and I just don't see them giving Sean a title shot right now.
Right now. You can't. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Even look at me, Sean O'Malley shirt on. I'm the biggest fucking Sean O'Malley fan, dude. He is very undeserving, but if some crazy shit happened, dude, could I see it happening? Probably. Like a little soon for what I would like, but it wouldn't be the craziest shit that we had ever seen. So any other news that you want to talk about, or just weird shit before we get into this upcoming weekend's fights? The best fight card of the year, most anticipated. I'd pay $500 for this shit.
Dude, I got like my hoodie on because like I can't keep the cold chills down, because like I'm just so freaking excited for this fight card coming up, dude. Like I'm just I can't wait. I can't wait to talk about it.
All right, so we're gonna I'm gonna give you guys the fights, prelims to main card, bottom to top, and then we're gonna talk about the fights top to bottom. And you guys are more than welcome to stick around and get our opinion on every one of these fights all the way through. So our opening fight of the night, if there's one person in the UFC that I'm like, bro, I'm confident I could probably beat that guy in a fight, it is Mike Jackson. And he is going to be fighting Pete Rodriguez. The prelim opener, 1-1, or I guess 1-1 now, Mike Jackson, because of they just wiped it all the way clear against Pete Rodriguez, 4-1, dude. This is going to be at welterweight. Keep that in mind. CJ Vergara taking on Tatsuro Taira. That is going to be at 125. Pierre Rodriguez taking on Sam Hughes. That is at 115. Joe Anderson Brito, as we said, going to be taking on Lucas Alexander. Interesting fight, I guess. I don't know a lot about Lucas Alexander. Nick Maximov taking on Jacob Malkoun. An interesting one, in my opinion. I think me and Dorian might pick a little bit different here. Who knows? Maybe we might. Who knows? Rafael Sunsao taking on Victor Henry. The return of Victor Henry after he beat up Rony Barcelos in his UFC debut. Mana Martinez taking on Brandon Davis. Dude, Brandon Davis has been in and out of the UFC a few times now, yeah?
That, or he's just been really inactive, because I remember at one point he was a pretty active fighter in the UFC, and then it was like he just fell off, took a fight, and
I'm just not convinced.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just not convinced I'm not convinced he should be in the UFC. I'm not saying he shouldn't be. I don't feel about Jamie Pickett how I feel about Brandon Davis yet. Like I'm still unsure
Brandon
about
Davis. The only thing with Brandon Davis is that he's fighting at bantamweight now. He's not fighting at featherweight anymore. So his size advantage at bantamweight is definitely going to be interesting.
Interesting. All right. So Misha Cirkunov taking on Atomic Alonzo Menifield, I might add. This is going to be on the main card, man. Dusko Todorovic taking on Jordan Wright. Battle of the Glass Cannons, dude. Who's going to get fucking knocked out first? Actually, Dusko might fucking sub him. It's a fucking chance. The fight that I do believe should probably be the main fight of the card, if you ask me, is Askarov taking on Brandon Raw Dog Royval. Right now on Tapology, it has co-main event Dragon Jonathan Martinez taking on Killer Cub Swanson, and our main event is Alexa Grasso taking on Viviane Araujo. Two of my favorite fighters at women's 125. And that being said, I will not be picking in this main event because I just can't do it. I can't do it. I know Dorian's going to pick Grasso, and it makes sense why, but I can't pick against my two favorite fighters. I'm going to set this one out, and I'm going to let Dorian break down this fight for y'all.
Yeah. So for me, I really think the biggest thing going into this fight is Viviane Araujo. She is super tough. She's got good striking. She's got good jiu-jitsu, good wrestling. I think she's well balanced. I think the only thing she kind of lacks is a little bit of head movement and a little bit of footwork. And that last fight against Andrea Lee had her on skates in that first round. And I actually think I actually went back and watched that fight again the other day, and Andrea Lee absolutely knocked out Araujo when she hit her with the head kick, and when she hit her with the punch on the way down, it woke her up. Like, I am absolutely convinced about that. Or Andrea Lee would have put her lights out. But as we got World War III going on in the background. But no, I think really for Alexa Grasso, I think she's super quick with her foot movement. She's got, as we know, super sharp boxing. She's starting to implement a lot of her wrestling into her game now. Got the submission win against Joanne Calderwood in her last fight. I think she's got a lot of momentum right now. I think her biggest thing has just been activity, and she's been a little bit more active here lately and been able to kind of put it all together. So I think for me, Alexa Grasso potentially could be a late finish. I don't know if she'd submit Araujo. I think if she does get a finish, though, maybe you get a tired out Araujo. But for me, and one of the bets I'm going to hit on this weekend, or I'm going to try to hit on, is to go Grasso either 4 or 5 or decision.
Let me throw a question at you. If I was to told you that fucking Viviane Araujo by finish is plus 700, would you throw a couple of dollars at it? Just by finish.
Yeah, I mean, plus 700.
Sub or KO. So via knockout.
Wait. Hold on. So Araujo by finish? By win or by finish?
Finish. 700. Fucking Viviane by
Grasso doesn't get finished, bro.
Fucking Viviane by knockout is plus 1100. Fucking Viviane by sub is plus 1600. I don't think she has a chance to beat her in a decision at all. I think fucking Vivi's gonna have to fucking finish her. Vivi's got 2 rounds in her. 2 rounds. And that's it. This is a 5-round fight. Grasso should win this unless she gets finished. Vivi's got power, dude. She's got lethal body shots. You're a fan of those rib roasters. I'm surprised you don't point that out in your breakdown, dude. She's got power. She's good. I think she's a brown belt, so she's good on the ground as well. I think Vivi could surprise a lot of people this weekend, dude. I'm not officially picking because both my favorite fighters at women's 125. But I think fucking Vivi might surprise a few people this weekend. Just overall being like, if you see fucking Vivi hurt Grasso, that's not going to surprise me at all. And I think that might surprise a lot of people. But is she going to gas out and lose the rest of the fight? Probably.
I think by finish, I wouldn't put it by that. I would put it by decision because I think that Araujo's path to win is probably the wrestling, because I was going back and looking at Grasso's record a little bit. I did forget that she has lost to Carla, lost to Suarez, and lost to Felice Herrig. So those are her 3 losses, all kind of wrestling heavy fighters. So I think if there is a path to victory for Araujo, is to use the wrestling, but I think if she tries to stand up and make striking in favor of Grasso, I think it's just going to be a one-way traffic.
Interesting fight all around. Viviane Araujo, main line, money line, a plus 185. Alexa Grasso, the minus 215 favorite on my end over here. All right, Dorian, get your strap out, man. I know you're fucking ready to put that shit on the line this week. Dorian is your reigning and defending pick champ. There were no fights last weekend. He did win it on the Mackenzie Dern versus Yan Xiaonan. He picked. We went 2-1 on that weekend. Mackenzie Dern did not get the sub as I wanted. So moving on down, dude. Cub Swanson taking on Dragon Jonathan Martinez. I got to go with the favorite here. Jonathan Dragon Martinez, dude. This is Cub Swanson's move down to 135. He looked really good against Darren Elkins at 145 in his last fight, but once again, he's called the damage, and he got the damage put on him. But that's what Darren Elkins does at this point. Cub Swanson just mollywopped Darren Elkins in his fucking last fight. Interesting to see how the move down to 135 goes. I wonder if it's going to be a tough weight cut or not. Because Cub, I don't guess he's ever been the biggest 145er, but I didn't ever think of him being like, yeah, fucking, let's see you down at 135, dude. Because him and Jose Aldo are basically the same size overall. I'm worried a little bit for this late career move down in weight class. I gotta go Dragon Martinez here. How are you going here, man?
Man, I'm a huge Killer Cub fan. He's a savage, man. As World War III continues. But honestly, I think for the wake up for Cub, I think that's going to be a big thing for him to kind of look out for. He's always had a good chin, but I do think that that's going to be one of the things that people are going to look out for to see if he can take a shot. Jonathan Martinez isn't the big knockout guy. I do think that Cub's a little bit more experienced at the higher level. He has been streaky. He'll win one, lose one, win one, lose one. But he's fought a lot of tough guys in that streak as well. I think Jonathan Martinez can be a little chinny. Let's say, give me a Cub. I don't know if he knocks him out, but I do think that Cub looked really good in his last couple fights outside of that Giga fight. And yeah, I think Cub gets it done.
During one with the plus 175 dog, Cub Swanson over the minus 205 favorite Jonathan Martinez, dude. That's basically the closing odds of what Giga versus Cub Swanson is. That's a little surprising if you ask me, dude, because now knowing what we know now, dude, it's like y'all are that confident on Jonathan Martinez. I don't feel like it should be that wide of odds, but it is what it is. Thoughts on the odds?
I mean, I guess kind of fitting just due to Cubs' age, and I think that's really more what it is, and the move down to the weight class. There's just so much unknown. It's just hard to really put your money on him right now.
Fair enough, dude. So our first different pick of the day, Askarov taking on Raw Dog Brandon Royval. Askarov, a minus 245 favorite over the plus 205 dog Raw Dog Brandon Royval. I'm going Raw Dog here, dude. I do like Askarov. I do think that he's good. But to be honest, dude, his striking's not that good. We seen that a lot in the Kai Kara France fight last, dude. His striking's not that good. If he can't get Brandon Royval down, dude, Royval's gonna piece him up. If he does get Royval down, Royval's like a tornado down there, just scrambling nonstop. He fucking may grab an arm. He might just pop back up. Unless Askarov is able to ground and hold Raw Dog Royval down for all 3 rounds because he doesn't get tired. Then I think Brandon Royval should win this on the ground or standing, dude. I'm going Raw Dog Royval. I'm going with the minus 205 underdog. Who you going here, man?
Man, I do think that this is again, Raw Dog fan. So, dude's a savage. I do think that I think kind of the same thing as you. His striking hasn't been as developed as you would like to see to this point, because a lot of guys have touted him as one of those guys that are coming up in that division and could be potentially.
I thought he was really good. Like, maybe like 3 or 4 fights ago, I was like, that guy's probably going to be the champion soon. And then
Yeah, I remember after
now,
fighting Benavidez, he kind of pieced up Joseph Benavidez, so people got their hopes up for him and everything. And honestly, the Kai Kara France fight is not a bad loss. I mean, Kai's just I think we've grown to see Kai kind of grow up in front of us, man. But Kai's a savage, and if you remember that fight, it was a really fun fight, and every time Askar got Kai down. Cobb was not, as soon as he hit the ground, he was able to get back up, or he was able to fend off the takedowns really well. I think for this matchup between Askar and Royval, I think Royval gets a little bit too content with staying on his back. I think he trusts his jiu-jitsu a little bit too much to get the submissions, potentially throwing elbows and stuff from the ground. I think with a guy like Askar who's content with staying in position, riding out to position, even if it comes to not getting any ground and pound, just to make sure he maintains control. I do think that Askar is capable of doing that. If you're asking me, I do think that Askar probably gets a decision win.
okay, so we got our second pick, different of the day. Dorian trying to hold on to that belt this week, going with the. I feel like this is going to be a lot of people's lock of the night. I'm telling you, a lot of other fucking shows, fucking betting channels. I guarantee you, a lot of them are going to be like, Askarov should fucking get this done. He's just going to ground them, hold on to him. Pretty much as old D is saying over here, what should happen? I'm just saying, dude. I feel like Askar is going to get tired dealing with Brandon Royval. I've seen Askar kind of like maybe not gas, but didn't look the freshest round 3 against fucking Kai, dude. And it's like, if you keep having to shoot for takedowns against someone that doesn't get tired, dude, don't be surprised at a round 3 finish by Raw Dog Royval. Moving on down, dude. We got 2 different ones. So I don't want to throw this one in there. We might pick different here, but who knows? We'll have it in our fucking back pocket, dude. The Battle of the Glass Cannons, dude. Plus 175, Jordan Wright taking on minus 205, Dusko Todorovic. I feel like this should be minus 100 either way. This should be split down the middle. I can maybe see why fucking Dusko is the favorite due to his submission threat, because when he first came in the UFC, he was just striking and he like wasn't trying to like submit anyone. But in his last few fights, you saw him. That's what he does. He takes you down and he's able to sub you pretty quickly. The dude is accomplished on the ground. I don't know if it's judo, jiu-jitsu, samba, some shit like that on the ground, dude. He's good. Jordan Wright, a karate guy. If I'm going to be honest here, I'm going to go with Jordan Wright for the size of him. He's a big guy overall, and he's got decent clinch knees, dude. I'm going Jordan Wright via knees to the body. Who you going here, man?
Man, I so like up and down about this fight because um you just don't really know what to expect from each fighter. Both of them have had, kind of tough fights coming into the UFC. Um, Jordan Wright's fought Bruno Silva, Joaquin Buckley. Todorovic has fought, Soriano and Gregory Rodriguez and Chitty. So, I mean, he's fought some absolute.
Always flexes like this with the biggest back on earth, dude.
dude, he is an absolute savage. But no, both of them have really tough fights. You know what's crazy, man, is that I'm actually thinking the same thing you are. I've seen Dusko get cleaned up too many times. I think Jordan Wright, he's one of those dudes. He's going out there, he's to kill or be killed. Like he is the literal definition of kill or be killed, because he is either going to finish you or he will get finished. But I do think that if he starts quick and early, I do think that you can catch Dusko on his back foot, and I think Jordan Wright gets him out of there first round.
Surprising. Like I just think the size may play a small difference, because I think Dusko. How tall is Dusko, dude?
Well, really, my biggest thing is I think Dusko kind of starts to fight a little bit slower, and like that's one thing I can give Jordan Wright. He might not be the most technical fighter or anything like that, but dude, he comes out like a fucking bat out of hell when he first starts to fight.
Every time I see fucking Dusko, it's just him like this. His chin is automatically like pointing to the sky, dude. Dusko, for those of you who don't know, this is how I describe his fucking head move every time. It's like he like puts his head up, like hit my chin, and then puts it down. Then he's like,
"Hey, you leave that shit up there like the Crimson Chin, you're going to get that shit cleaned up, especially in the UFC."
They got Dusko built at 6'1", dude. I don't think he's fit fucking 6'1", maybe 5'10". Jordan Wright, every bit of fucking 6'2", big guy overall. I think fucking Jordan Wright is going to have maybe a slight size advantage over Dusko, and that's why I think he's probably going to get him out of there. The over under here set at 1.5, minus 240 for the under. So everyone pretty much thinks this shit's fucking going under. I pretty much agree. Same for you?
Same.
All right, moving on down. Misha Cirkunov taking on Atomic Alonzo Menifield. Got to be honest, Misha Cirkunov keeps jumping back. Is he going to be at 205, 185? Can't seem to find his home. Taking on Atomic Alonzo Menifield is not a fight that you want to just try to get right to. Alonzo Menifield has really good power, and dude, I've seen him do this multiple times. He'll catch you as soon as you miss, dude, and as you're off balance. I don't want to say it drops you, but it knocks you down. And the ground and pound, just 3 or 4 shots right after you hit the ground, dude. Alonzo Menifield's GMP is ridiculous, dude. I got Atomic Alonzo Menifield here. Should get it done over the plus 175 dog, Misha Cirkunov. Alonzo Menifield minus 205, the favorite.
Yeah, I think couldn't really add too much more. The only thing I think with Menifield, he has been in his last couple fights been using his wrestling a little bit more, which he has been using it very well. And as you said, his ground and pound is savage. But watch out for Misha Cirkunov. Misha Cirkunov is a little bit tricky with his submissions and good with sweeps and stuff on the ground. So if Alonzo Menifield does end up using his wrestling, I think that's something to look out for from Misha. But overall, should be a Menifield either KO or TKO.
Indeed, man. Moving on down, dude. Mana Martinez, minus 155 favorite, taking on the plus 135 Brandon Davis, dude. I think me and you kind of alluded to this like in the beginning as I was announcing them. I guess I'm not too high on Brandon Davis, but if I'm going to be fair, I'm not the highest on Mana Martinez. His last fight was his first fight. It was his first fight under the old the James Krause head coach. So this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, will be fight number 2 up at fucking Glory MMA. However, I gotta go with fucking Mana Martinez just because I don't feel high on fucking Brandon Davis. He hasn't shown me that he belongs in the UFC. Not saying he doesn't belong. I have to see something. Maybe this fight will show me that he does belong. Mana Martinez also, in his earlier fights, I don't feel like was that good either. I wouldn't have picked him, but his last fight, he showed a little bit more resilience than what I remember him. Just off the top of my head, I got to go Mana Martinez here. Who you going here, man?
Man, I think the biggest thing I'm struggling with on picking this fight is that like I'm drawing a blank on Mana Martinez. Like as far as what he might have done in his last fight. I know Brandon Davis, he was a 145 at one point. I know he fought as the B. He's fought a couple of tough guys in the UFC. Kind of had some bad breaks. Has managed to make his way back into the UFC, as you mentioned earlier. I think the biggest thing, he lost to Ronnie Lawrence in his last fight.
But Martinez Ronnie Lawrence but you got to remember, Ronnie Lawrence gassed round 3, and fucking Mana Martinez came back and was putting it on him in that 3rd round. Fucking Ronnie Lawrence still got the decision, but he was gassed round 3, and fucking Mana's gas tank was fucking still there, hitting him with multiple leg kicks over and over. We don't have to put this one in it unless we don't have a fucking 3rd one. How about that?
I was actually, now that I looked at the height because I was like, man, I imagine that Brandon Davis is going to be a bigger guy fighting at bantamweight. Mono Martinez is also 5'10". So, yeah, no size advantage there that I was actually thinking that Brandon Davis was going to have, which was why I was going to pick Brandon Davis. But as you're seeing the height difference between the two, yeah, I'm definitely going Mono Martinez.
Mono Martinez minus 155 over the plus 135 Brandon Davis. So moving on down, Rafael Sunsao plus 295 underdog against minus 360 Victor Henry. So Victor Henry was a UFC newcomer in his last fight on short notice, took on Hani Barcelos. Hani Barcelos was this highly touted prospect. Never impressed me. Just want to throw that out there, which is why in the fight, I think I may have put a 10 on fucking Victor Henry to win by decision because just the experience. And Hani is tough. He doesn't get really fucking finished too often. And Victor Henry won me I think it was like about $300 like the last time that he fought, some shit like that. It was pretty solid in my opinion. So I am a fan of fucking Victor Henry at this point. Rafael Sunsao, I feel like he used to be good, and then he's just kind of chinny at this point. Dude, that fucking Cody Garbrandt fight is gonna live in my fucking head like forever, dude. It's like he just doesn't have the best fight IQ. I suspect fucking Victor Henry just gonna kind of be in his face all night, hitting him with the peppering shots. I don't think fucking Victor Henry finishes him. But if he does, maybe that fucking round 3. He doesn't seem to have a ton of power. But then again, we saw him against Hani Barcelos that is super fucking tough. So I guess thoughts on this fight, and I assume you're going Victor Henry as well.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much summed it up. I think Sunsao, kind of on his last leg here, he has been it's been taking a couple more losses than what we're used to seeing him take as of late, and been getting finished a little bit more as of late too. I don't think Victor Henry is the the heavy finisher, like a heavy puncher, but in his last fight against Barcelos, he did look very clean, clean with his striking, good footwork as well, good wrestling. So I think overall Victor Henry is just set up for him to get the easy dub here.
All right, coming on down. I believe this is our fucking prelims now. This might be on the main card. Not sure. Minus 135, Nick Maximoff taking on the plus 115 Jacob Malkoun. So pretty close one, dude. We saw Nick Maximoff lose his O in his last fight against Andre Petrovsky. I wasn't too high on Andre Petrovsky. We've kind of seen him go through the Ultimate Fighter, and he just didn't impress me too much. I was impressed by Nick Maximoff. I thought he was going to run over Andre Petrovsky in his last fight. He was a fucking big favorite to do so. However, Andre Petrovsky choked him out, dude. Choked him unconscious, snoozed him. I've got to ride with the Nick Diaz army here again. Light skin Curtis Blades has not impressed me. That is Jacob Malkoun. Robert Whitaker's, I believe, wrestling coach, something like that. He's really good on the fence, but Nick Maximoff just a lot better in open mat. I think this is for sure going to be over. I don't see this fight getting finished. I think the wrestling / grappling going to cancel each other out. I do think Nick Maximoff gets the decision here. How do you think this goes?
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking like you as far as Maximoff in his last fight. Kind of a disappointing performance coming off of the debut that he had, which he didn't get a submission in his debut, but we've seen the wrestling and the scrambling that he was able to put up at 170. It was very impressive. But Jacob Malkoun in his last fight against Brendan Allen, he actually put up a good performance in that fight, and a lot of people actually thought he came away with that win. A lot of people thought that he was able to put a lot of pressure on Brendan Allen late in that fight and was able to sneak away with the win. I think it came down to a split decision as well. So I think if you're asking me, I do think that Jacob Malkoun, a little bit more of a heftier guy than Nick Maximoff is. So I think Nick Maximoff isn't going to have as easy of a time with the wrestling. I think Jacob Malkoun, give me by decision. I think he gets it done.
So that is our third and final different pick of the night. Those were honestly the three that I thought we were probably going to pick fucking different on. I was like, he's probably going to pick Askarov just because I feel like that's a smart fight to pick Askarov. Like he should win. But I just feel like Brandon Royval, Raw Dog is going to upset, show everyone why he's live. Also the Cup Swanson versus Dragon Martinez. I was pretty confident that like you were also going to pick Cub Swanson just because that's fucking one of your favorite fighters, man. You like to pick them, man. You know, I like to pick my favorite fighters too, so it is what it is.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then that one right there. So moving on down, this one was that fucking late notice fight that we did talk about. Joe Anderson Brito taking on Lucas Alexander. Joe Anderson Brito, a minus 390 favorite over the plus 320 Lucas Alexander. I'm guessing everyone just expects fucking Joe Anderson Brito to just mollywop the fuck out of newcomer Lucas Alexander. Yeah. I mean, he fucking snoozed Andre Feely mad quick. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, Brito's a savage. So yeah, I definitely think he should be able to get it done pretty easily.
All right. So Pierre Rodriguez, minus 165 favorite, taking on Sam Page, Sam Hughes, plus 140 dog. How do you see this one going? I gotta be honest, I'm not too familiar with Pierre Rodriguez. I believe she just recently came off the Contender Series not too long ago. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what I was gonna look at and see as well, because I think she did come from the Contender Series. She had a pretty good win on there. Sam Hughes, she's been a little bit more up and down. I think you just got to go with Rodriguez, just kind of based off of the consistency. Now Sam Hughes has been able to put together a couple wins here in her last couple performances, but I do think overall, Pierre Rodriguez, kind of going back and looking at her fights, she should be able to get it done.
Not really sure too much about Pierre Rodriguez, but I got to go with the UFC vet here, Sam Hughes. Tatsuro Taira taking on CJ Vergara. Tatsuro a minus 240 favorite over the plus 200 CJ Vergara. Tatsuro looked good in his last fight against, his name's on my tongue, Clayson Rodriguez, I believe. Is that right?
I will confirm.
Anyway, he looked good. He did get the decision at the end of the day. Is that right? Now I'm drawing a blank.
You're like, Taitsua Taira. The name does sound familiar, but same for me. You know, and I can't believe for the most anticipated fight card of the year, that we're not a little bit more prepared for this. But Carlos Candelario
Carlos
was his actual last fight.
Yeah, that's who it was. I know it was like fucking something odd like that. He looked good against him, but not overly impressed. CJ Vergara now kind of had a few fights in the UFC, shown that he's tough, got good takedown defense. He's down to fucking scrap no matter what, dude. The odds are a little wide for my liking. I might take a little shot here on fucking CJ Vergara just because I don't think Tatsuro looked too impressive to me in his last fight over Carlos Candelario, who I don't consider to be that good himself to begin with.
Yeah, Vergara was actually the one who fought Clayson Rodriguez, so mixing the two up. But yeah, Vergara, I actually think too. Yeah, he's a savage, man. I did not realize he was that big of an underdog. Like you said, down for a good scrap. I actually think he gets the dub as well. That's a dude. He's very fun to watch. He's exciting.
Yeah, plus 200 dog. I think maybe fucking people might just be high on the Japanese MMA prospect because we don't see him too often. Tatsuro Taira might be that guy, or he might get exposed, man. So moving on to the opening prelim of the fight of the card, the fight of the night, if you will. That, dude, this is a UFC fans that if I was sitting with a casual UFC fan on the couch and they're like, man, I could beat that guy, they're like, probably. Like, maybe, dude. Mike Jackson, dude, if you have any sort of athleticism, I feel like you should beat Mike Jackson. He's 1-1. He beat CM Punk, lost to Mickey Gall, beat CM Punk, and
Lost to
then
Mickey Gall, beat
yeah,
CM Punk.
Mickey's whatever, and then the one was overturned to a no contest because he smoked weed. So that's where the other one comes in. And in his last fight, he has his only win technically, and it is a DQ win over Dean Barry. He got eye poked a few times and then like nut shot or like nut shot a few times and then eye poke. I kind of felt bad for him, to be honest, but he deserved that fucking win. I believe that was also on the Victor Henry card too last. No, yeah.
Now you're pulling a little too much. I can't.
I don't know.
I can't remember exactly.
I kind of feel like something about those tell me that that was on the same parlay that I just picked them both straight up and also still hit that. I could be completely bullshitting as well, but yeah, dude. P. Rodriguez, what's the heights here, man? What's the heights? Because I think that might play a difference here. I might be going with a fucking with a fucking oh shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say now for Mike Jackson, I think he's at least about what 5'11",
6'2" versus 5'9", dude. So this dude, Mike Jackson might fucking win this fight. Pete Rodriguez got absolutely demolished by Jack Della Maddalena, in his last fight.
Yeah, but Jack Della Maddalena
he's a fucking savage. He is shredded. He's huge. That's what I'm saying. Pete Rodriguez, kind of just a chubby guy. 5'9", 170, dude. Dude, it wouldn't surprise me if Mike Jackson beat Pete Rodriguez. Because, I mean, what has Pete Rodriguez done to show you that he belongs here, dude? He's got what, like, fucking 5 fights total? A total pro career of 7 minutes if you add up all of his fights all together. His total pro time is like 7 minutes or some shit like that. Dude, this is very low level MMA. This fight should be the opening fight of the prelims of like CFFC. This should not be a UFC prelim opener. Had to throw that last dart in there. You weren't expecting it. Yeah, dude. Who knows how this fucking goes, dude. Mike Jackson might win but the odds tell you Pete Rodriguez via KO rather soon, dude. How you see this going?
Honestly, I'm surprised you would actually spend this much time actually talking about it. But no, I think really just it's super hard for the money because I'm obviously not putting anything significant on it. But just as far as the underdog, what is he, like a plus 500 underdog? Mike Jackson is. That's worth just a couple bucks to throw at, considering the size advantage that Mike Jackson is going to have over Pete Rodriguez. And Pete Rodriguez isn't he's not really that much more experienced than Mike Jackson, even though Pete Rodriguez does have a little more experience, not really too much more. He has the youth advantage, but screw it, give me Mike Jackson.
No, it's not 675 favorite worthy though. One thing that I do want to point out to you, I feel like, there's money to be made here. Everyone, if you're listening, this fight to go over 1.5 right now is a plus 210, dude. Mike Jackson's tough. And if Pete Rodriguez shown that he can't get Mike Jackson out of there, I don't see Mike Jackson finishing anyone. This fight to go over 1.5 at a plus 210, definitely worth a couple bucks just to throw on. You might double, triple, quadruple your money. What is it? It's like triple your money, something like that for a plus. No,
plus 210. That's double.
Yeah, that's double. I thought if it was plus 100, that was just fucking doubling your money. If it was plus, so like if you
if you bet $100 on
you're
plus
getting 300,
you're gonna get the right 100 that you already placed, and then you're hitting the 210 afterwards.
Yeah.
So what you're bringing home, you're
money.
doubling.
So you're tripling your money on a plus 200. You have 100 to turn into 300. You're tripling.
But that's the money you already. That's money you already have. You're getting it back.
But you're tripling your money. You're winning $200, but you're tripling your $100. Do you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but I guess we just look at it differently. Because
I guess
I'm thinking about it because you already got that money there. If it comes back, that's money you already had.
Yeah.
Whereas you're really doubling your money because you're just adding 200 more rather than 300.
But
because I feel like that would be for a plus 300 if you're doing plus 300.
But if you have $100 and you double it, that's $200.
Right. But I mean, I'm talking about
now you have $300 back though. That's what this has nothing to do with fights. We just look at this way fucking different. Yeah, this is going off the fucking rails 100%, dude. That is the fucking fights for this weekend. You may double triple your money, whatever. It's a plus 210 dog to go over 1.5. Do you fucking see this going over a round and a half?
It should, but I don't know if I feel confident putting any money on it just because what if Mike Jackson gets nut kicked again and he's out of there in the first round?
It'll be voided, dude. No contest. In that case, that is going to be all from us here this time. We have our picks. We got our 3 different ones. I'm going to win that fucking strap back from Dorian and be back over here this upcoming fucking week. But that's all from us here this time. Matt Anderson, Dorian Rose on the other side. Anything before we get out of here, man?
Nah, man, we bringing it back home next week, baby.
That is us.
Bringing it back home.
This is the Golden Octagon MMA Podcast. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace.